Evening, folks. Welcome back. Today's video, this evening's video, is the truth about healthcare. Bear with me, I have a lot of grounds to cover here. It's Wednesday night, the 22nd day of month of March, 2023. Welcome back. Today's Halifax Herald front page. Healthcare workers to get retention bonuses. I'll publicly state I'm against that. $10,000, and they agree to stay every year, 2 years, and they get another $10,000. They're well paid now. Is there somewhere in the globe that they make more money? There probably is. Is there areas where they make less money? There probably is too. Despite all the talk of housing costs in Nova Scotia are relatively reasonable compared to most parts of the country. I'm going to repeat that. Housing costs in Nova Scotia compared to most parts of the country are relatively reasonable. Giving people more money has nothing to do with happiness. Piece a few weeks ago, somebody in business news, he was worth $2.8 billion. Thomas E. Lee ran a big hedge fund in New York. It was one of his multi-million-dollar condominiums, special apartments. The police went in and he committed suicide. He was 70-some years old. Money has nothing to do with happiness. Okay? The healthcare workers, the nurses and doctors, during the pandemic, the hospitals were empty. That's the real cost of this pandemic, is the people that didn't get their heart stuff and they get a heart attack because they didn't know they had blocked arteries. Women that didn't get a mammogram because they end up getting breast cancer or some other type of cancer, or men for that matter. They take giving the healthcare workers almost $500 million in highly indebted provinces like Nova Scotia. They were sitting in the hospital for the most part, most of the time, twiddling their thumbs. And people say, what's he talking about? I'm going to repeat it. They were sitting in the hospital twiddling their thumbs in the spring and summer of 2020 into 2021 because nobody was being seen, hardly. But they're all getting paid. So, now this is today's Halifax Herald, Wednesday the 22nd, front page story. Yesterday's Halifax Herald, you see a piece in here from yesterday's news as well. It's this here, it's actually, this here one is, I misspoke this one, this here one is the casket. And it's Rural Health Institute coming to St. X. So this is this week's casket, which did come today. And they're going to spend at the University of Antigonish $35 million from the government. There's another $25 million coming from other sources. And they're going to decide, it's going to hear, the Premier says, we're committed to running deficits and spending whatever it takes to fix healthcare. The Premier, Timothy Houston, Terrible Timothy, committed to running deficits and spending what it takes to fix healthcare at the recent ceremony. Now, he talks on second page of this article in today's paper. They're going to take and spend whatever it takes, okay, to give Nova Scotians world-class health service. Nobody comes to Canada or Nova Scotia for health care, generally speaking. You go to the United States, there's private health care. Government can't fix the situation in health care. There's nurses out there and doctors that are very good. There's nurses out there, many of them that are wonderful and compassionate and excellent. There's doctors that give a damn and are wonderful, compassionate and excellent. But there's some nurses, and it's more than odd one out, and there's some doctors shouldn't even be allowed in a veterinary clinic. I'm going to repeat that. There are some nurses, and there's more than one of them, and there's some doctors shouldn't be allowed anywhere near human beings. It shouldn't be even a veterinary clinic. So this idea of giving people more money, that doesn't buy happiness at all. In fact, if you look at the history of labor, the more people make, the more they complain and pick. If they want to leave Nova Scotia, any nurses or doctors want to leave Nova Scotia, I have one word for you. Go ahead. Do it. Any nurses and doctors aren't police in the medical system. Leave. Because $10,000 more isn't going to make them happy. They take $15,000 won't make them happy, $18,000, $20,000. If you don't have the compassion and feeling for what you're doing, and yes, at times it can be busy. Often it's very busy. But if you don't like people being cranky or blood or whatever, you don't become a doctor. Or you don't become a nurse. Or whatever. So this terrible Timothy, you got the mental Michelle and Anakanish, Minister of Health. I mean, what does it take? We're spending, I think it's 43, almost 45% of every dollar comes in Nova Scotia healthcare. If spending money made better situation, what would we be doing right now with education in the schools? Almost everybody tells me how poor they find education system. Teachers have never been paid so much in Nova Scotia. Their buildings have never so new and up to date and modern with all this equipment. And the same can go for the damn universities. Okay, so more money in education has not given us a better education system. People 30, 40, 60, 80 years ago in one-room and two-room schoolhouses that have superior education went further than what they're doing now in these here schools. High-priced people and fancy buildings and all the amenities. So fancy buildings and big salaries have not made Nova Scotia's education system world-class. Far from it. And it's not made universities shit-hot either. So giving more money to the nurses and doing the same to doctors. And one more thing on the subject of doctors. They all want to be specialists. I'm a doctor. Now maybe somebody I know. Maybe they just have it in for the healthcare workers. And this lady told me, we don't need more money at St. Martin's Hospital. We need doctors. This lady had broke a bone in her lower leg or ankle, and she waited 8 days to see a doctor. And this wonderful lady has just retired after 50 years of practicing medicine at St. Martin's Hospital. So it's not just somebody that's anti-doctor. People, students, when you go into a career, anything, electrician, mechanic, servant in public, waitress, cook, whatever, doctors, if you don't go in a profession if you're not going to be happy in it. And if you're in it now and you're not happy and you can't take the heat, as Harry Truman would say, get out of the kitchen. I'm going to repeat that one. Very controversial statement. If you're a nurse or LPN or anybody in healthcare now or the doctors, if you're not happy with what you're doing, get out. More money is not going to make you happy. Okay, with that, this is John Pettipas, and I wish you all the best. God bless. But I go on record as adamantly against giving nurses and doctors and others these big bonuses. If they're not happy now, more money won't do it. And you have a terrible Timothy. Goodness deficit spend whatever it takes to fix healthcare. So he admits that healthcare is broken. And then he says in this article further on, make Nova Scotia healthcare world class. Well, you won't do it by bribing the people. With that, I got to go. All the best. God bless. Good night. Thank you.